I never planned on lying to a room full of strangers. But there I was, saying, my wife, like I'd practiced it my whole life, when 3 days earlier I hadn't even known her coffee order. Her name is Elena. She's my boss, was my boss, before all this. 44, though she'd never volunteer that. Runs the design firm like she runs everything else, precise, unreadable, 3 steps ahead of whoever's in the room. I'm Sam. 23. I fix the printer nobody else can fix and I stay quiet in meetings, which is probably why she picked me. It's just for the weekend, she'd said, sliding a folder across her desk like it was a work order and not a request to pretend I loved her. My family won't stop asking. I need this to look real. I said yes before I understood what real would cost me. The wedding, her cousin's, upstate, some vineyard with too many candles, is where it started. Not the lie. The other thing. The thing neither of us named. She'd had 2 glasses of wine and her hand found my arm during the toasts, casual, the way a wife's hand finds a husband's. I didn't move. I don't think she noticed she'd done it. Or she noticed and decided not to notice. Later, in the hallway outside our fake shared room, she stopped walking. Didn't turn around right away. Thank you for doing this, she said to the door, not to me. You don't have to thank me. She turned then. Looked at me too long for a woman thanking an employee. Sam. Just my name. Like she meant to say more and changed her mind. Then she knocked, softly, on my door instead of hers. I opened the door before I could talk myself out of it. She stood there in the hallway light, arms crossed like she was cold, though the vineyard air was warm enough to fog the windows downstairs. She didn't say anything at first. Neither did I. That was the thing about Elena. She could make silence feel like the loudest part of a conversation. I shouldn't have knocked, she said finally. You did, though. A small laugh, not really a laugh. She looked past me into the room like she was deciding whether to stay standing in the doorway or step through it. I noticed things I had no business noticing, the way her earring had come loose, the wine-stained shadow at the corner of her mouth, how tired she looked underneath all that composure. Boss tired. Not vineyard tired. My ex was supposed to be here, she said. Not as a guest. As my husband. The real one. She almost smiled. Guess I recycled the role. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing, which she seemed to prefer. He used to make me feel like an inconvenience, she went on, quieter now. Small things. Forgetting where I was supposed to be. Forgetting I was there at all. I wouldn't forget, I said, before I'd fully decided to say it. She looked up at me then, and something shifted in her face, not surprise, more like she'd been waiting to hear if I'd say something like that, and now that I had, she didn't know where to put it. Don't, she said softly. Not angry. Almost pleading. Don't what? She stepped closer instead of answering, and her hand found my arm again, not an accident this time. Her hand stayed on my arm a second too long, and neither of us moved to fix that. Elena. Don't say my name like that. Her voice had gone thin, almost a whisper, like the word itself might break something if I used it wrong. Like what? Like you mean it. I opened my mouth to tell her I did mean it, whatever it was, and that's when her phone rang from somewhere down the hall, sharp, insistent, the ringtone she used for her mother. She flinched like she'd been caught at something, even though we hadn't done anything yet. Hadn't, technically. I have to. She was already stepping back, smoothing her dress, rebuilding herself in real time. They'll wonder. Yeah. Sam. Go, I said. Before someone finds the fake husband alone in a hallway looking like this. That got the ghost of a real smile out of her before she disappeared toward the stairs, phone pressed to her ear, voice shifting into something brighter and false for her mother's benefit. I stood there a long moment, listening to her fake her way through a phone call the same way she'd faked her way through toasts and hand-holding and calling me my husband to a room of relatives who believed every word of it. I told myself it didn't mean anything. I told myself on the walk back to my room, and again lying on top of the covers with my shoes still on, staring at the ceiling like it owed me an answer. It wasn't the almost kiss that kept me up. It was the way she'd said don't, like she wasn't talking to me at all. Like she was talking to herself, and losing. She found me an hour later, out by the vineyard fence where the noise from the reception couldn't reach. You left, she said. You told me to go. I meant I had to go. Not you. She wrapped her arms around herself again, that same cold in warm air posture. I looked for you at the table. Didn't think the fake husband got a seat once the calls started. Don't do that. Sharper now. Don't make this smaller than it is. That stopped me. What is it, then? She didn't answer right away. The music from the tent drifted toward us, blurred and far off, and for a while that was the only sound. That, and the wind moving through the vines like it was trying to fill the silence for us. I told my mother we were happy, she said finally. She asked if you were good to me. I said yes. And I wasn't lying, Sam, she stopped herself, pressed her lips together. That's the what? That's the problem. Her eyes came up to mine, glassy in the low light. I wasn't lying about any of it. Except the part where we're married. I didn't move. Couldn't, really. 23 years old and I'd never had a woman look at me like she was confessing to a crime. Elena, if you're saying what I think you're saying. I don't know what I'm saying. Her voice cracked on it, just slightly. I just know I knocked on your door tonight and I wasn't planning to leave. The fence post creaked under my hand. Somewhere behind us, someone called her name, her real name, not wife, not Mrs. anything. She didn't turn around. The voice calling her name got closer, and this time it had a face, her cousin's husband, Marcus, jogging up the path with a phone held out like it was on fire. Elena, it's your dad. He wants to talk to Sam. She went very still. He wants to what? Talk to the husband. Says he never got a chance at the toast. Marcus was already handing the phone over, oblivious, grinning like this was the easiest thing in the world. Congrats again, man, seriously. I took the phone because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. Elena's face had drained of color in a way I hadn't seen all weekend. Not nerves, something closer to panic. "This is Sam," I said into the phone, and heard an older man's voice, warm, a little rough, already halfway into a sentence about how he never thought Elena would let anyone in again after David. David. The ex. The one who was supposed to be standing where I was standing. "She talks about you different than she talked about him," her father said, easy, unaware of what he was handing me. "You're good for her. Anybody can see that." I said something back, "Thank you, sir, means a lot." Some autopilot string of words while Elena watched me with an expression I couldn't read, half hope, half horror, like she wasn't sure which way this was about to break. When I hung up, she took the phone back with shaking hands and didn't say anything for a long moment. "He's never said that about anyone," she finally managed. "Not once. Not even." She didn't finish David's name. She didn't have to. We didn't go back to the tent. We walked the length of the vineyard instead, past the last row of vines, until the music was just a pulse behind us and the stars had come out properly, the way they only do somewhere far from a city. "I need to say something," Elena said, "and I need you not to interrupt, because if you interrupt I won't get through it." I nodded. Kept my hands shoved in my pockets so I wouldn't reach for her. "I asked you to do this because it was safe. A contract. An employee doing a favor, nothing that could actually hurt me." She laughed, short and humorless. "David hurt me by disappearing. Slowly. A little more each year until I didn't recognize what was left. I thought if I picked someone who couldn't possibly want me, someone younger, someone who worked for me, someone with every reason to keep his distance, I'd finally be safe." "Elena." I said don't interrupt. But she was almost smiling now, eyes wet. "You were supposed to be the safe choice. You are the least safe thing that has happened to me in 5 years." "I didn't plan this either," I said. "I've spent 3 days trying to talk myself out of feeling anything. I'm bad at my job." "You're terrible at it." "I know." She stopped walking. Turned to face me fully, and for once there was no hallway to retreat into, no phone call to interrupt us, no cousin's husband jogging up with excuses. "I don't know how we come back from this on Monday," she said. "Then don't let's go back to Monday yet." She closed the last of the distance between us. This time, neither of us stopped it. We didn't have an answer for Monday. Not really. Not that first week, walking back into an office where she was still my boss and I was still the guy who fixed the printer, both of us pretending the vineyard hadn't happened while pretending badly. But some lies stop being lies once you both know you're telling them together. It took 2 months before she told HR. Took longer than that before her father found out the wedding he'd toasted to had been real by the time he heard about it. Some engagement folded quietly into a marriage that had started as a favor and become the truest thing either of us had done. I still fix things around her house that don't need fixing, just for an excuse to stay a little longer. She still says my name like she's testing whether she's allowed to. What changed wasn't dramatic. It was smaller than that. She stopped bracing herself when good things happened, like she was waiting for them to be taken back. I stopped assuming I was borrowing something that belonged to someone else. We built it slow, the way you rebuild anything that's actually going to hold weight, not the fast, easy version, the real one. If there's a moral in it, maybe it's this: the roles people hand you, boss, employee, husband, fake husband, aren't always the truth of what's happening between two people. Sometimes you have to get lost inside the pretending before you find the thing that was real all along. That's the story. That's us. Did you enjoy it? I'd love to know, what kind of story should I tell next?